Now do MASH.
Oh God, my wrists are bleeding.
Don't go there, man.
If that bums you guys out, you definitely shouldn't watch MASH. It's a really dark
A lot
show.
of Korean War vets are in the crowd tonight. How about
Wait, I have a MASH. Can I do a MASH trivia about the theme song?
Please.
His kid wrote it. Did
Robert
you know that?
Altman.
Like an 11-year-old wrote "Suicide is Painless."
11?
Something
Suicide
like
is
that. I don't
when
know if
I heard
that's
his
true.
son wrote it, I pictured him as like 19 and it's like, get a job.
11-year-old. Because if you listen to the lyrics, they're awful. They're like they make no
Suicide
sense.
is
What are you
painless.
doing down here? I'm Robert Altman. What are you doing? You're fucking around on a guitar. You don't even, I'm a musician. Well, then do something with it. What do you want me to do? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Robert, help your son. You can't yell at him. Give him a chance. He's Robert Altman's son. All right, look, I'm making this movie about a war. Put a theme song on my desk by 8 a.m. and maybe I'll use it. Fucking theme song, stupid. Fucking, I wish I was dead. Fucking suicide wouldn't hurt that much. Might as well fucking stick your dick in a river and everything's full of shit there. This is pretty good. Those moments when when you've got that gun in your mouth and you don't know who to talk to and stuff, it's like, if you can just scrape that bottom of the pool and just come back up in due time, just don't do the permanent thing. Don't do the thing that...
You mean, are you talking about suicide? Don't kill yourself?
Yeah, that's an easy stance to take, isn't it?
Well, I mean, yes, and I know, like, don't do the permanent thing, but the other, for me, like, I think suicide is, man, it's a gamble. Because you are assuming...
I thought I really just had the easy point of view on this.
No, I'm saying, like, kids, if you haven't contemplated suicide, you know, that would be surprising to me. So I think anyone who's sentient and experiencing suffering and wants to find exits, that's the first thing that pops into your head. So I've thought about it a lot, and my conclusion is, it's uncertain about what happens upon extinction. Like, for example, if we knew that we somehow had some way to really show sentience is based on neurobiology, and when you kill yourself, there is a pure extinguishment of all identity, a kind of like what Dawkins calls death is the anesthesia that saves us from the pain of eternity stuff. Like, we get fully put under, there's no coming back. He's not the band Dawkins.
Oh, I was like,
Richard
okay,
Dawkins.
all right. Continue, sorry.
To me, it's like, what if you kill yourself and the momentum of the pain that you were experiencing that drove you to do self-violence continues into some liminal bardo state, and that momentum brings you into another incarnation, and then you're just in this never-ending cycle. So it was a failed attempt. It didn't work, so it didn't solve the problem. And so to me, that's a good... That definitely has kept me from...
I guess that's an interesting, like...
Kept you from what?
Like
killing myself. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, do you know when you jump out the window and you're like fantasizing, like maybe when I jump out, the pavement turns into like a lake or something and I dive into nothingness. How do you know you don't just suddenly come to and you're driving like a metro bus, having a deja vu, and
or
you
the
just feel like
nature of
shit?
time and consciousness is so variable that it's the moment that your skull impacts with the pavement that actually gets protracted into a subjective eternity. It's just like, it's a feeling. It's always a feeling. That's the weird thing about humanity, is there is no logical reason to stay alive. There is only just hanging out. And it's that belief that if something doesn't make sense, it shouldn't exist, that can be fatal for kids who don't have an experience yet with, like, oh shit, sometimes shit just is super dark and confusing, and then all of a sudden it's not. And they don't know that when they're 16, and then they do things that any human can do. They have the power to do things that you'd never do when you were 40, just because you've experienced more 16s. By then you've been like, well, yeah, this too shall pass.
I really like to be alive. I don't have any desire at all to no longer exist. I have this beautiful son and a wonderful wife. I love to exist. I like it so much. But I do think that depressed people this what is a psychologically documented thing, which is intrusive suicidal thoughts, become shameful. You know, you're like, oh my God, my brain spit out this horrific way of doing things, and then you feel embarrassed about it because you're like, you don't want to talk about it, and also
you don't want to talk about it, and then you kill yourself.
But then you're like, but you're thinking like, shit, man, I must be so crazy that I'd want to do that when. And I really do mean this is not, I'm saying the instinct to kill yourself is actually more of an instinct to move beyond who you think you are. You're just desperately trying to solve the problem of this this hardcore compression into your identity. And so, which is why one of the things I've heard is before you reject yourself, you need to know yourself. How can you reject yourself if you don't know who you are? And so the idea is to first, prior to any kind of horrific solution like that, see if you can figure out what you actually are. And in that exploration, it's really cool because like literally everything in the material universe, if you zoom in on it far enough, it disappears. Similarly, the identity itself, if you spend any time analyzing it and deeply looking into it, you will begin to notice the most beautiful, terrifying, and ultimately liberating thing happens, which is you, as you thought you were, cease to exist, and you didn't have to jump out of a building for that to happen. And somewhere in there, I think, is something quite beautiful and a far less destructive solution for your community. And I think there's some compassion there too. There's something really sweet about being in all that fucking pain that you get into when you're depressed, beyond pain. You wish you were in pain. You wish you were sad. Anything to not just feel that numb, dead, entropic, miasmic paralysis. You would give anything just to feel a moment of sadness. And somewhere in that, there is something so sweet and beautiful about still finding the strength to stay alive because you know the people around you would be so devastated. To me, that is a really beautiful thing. And that is a reason to stay alive, and a logical reason to stay alive, aside from the fact that when you kill yourself, 100% of the time, you wake up and you're having a deja vu as a Metro City bus driver.
Laughing at you.
Cliffhanger.